Okay, that's them in the chopper. All right, here's the deal. They want a straight exchange on open ground. All right? Okay, stay tight. Let's go.
Got it?
100% pure grade A Colombian, my friend.
Let me see it.
The greens?
10s and 20s. Used.
I think we have a deal, my friend.
Oh, shit! Come on, get out of here! Drive!
It really does seem like there's never a shortage of things to talk about when it comes to the Grand Theft Auto series. Recently, we've covered San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 5, and even speculated on GTA 6 here and there. But one classic GTA game that we've left out in the cold for far too long is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Many longtime fans of the series consider this to still be the best game. Although you could make a compelling argument for any of them really, GTA Vice City certainly had an identity of its own and still goes down smooth today. The 80s culture is realized in such a way that fits perfectly with the GTA formula, and as such, it shouldn't be much of a surprise that the game went on to sell and review incredibly well. Reviewers gave Vice City 9s and 10s pretty much across the board, and the game still continues to move units on eBay in its original form, as well as on Steam and PlayStation Network as a downloadable PS2 classic. While you can say that just about every Grand Theft Auto game is a classic in its own way, there are a lot of things about this particular iteration of the series that made it stand out so well and continue to captivate gamers of all persuasions for hours on end. Vice City was in an interesting place in the lifespan of the series. They had already broken new ground with Grand Theft Auto 3, and the three-dimensional open-world game format that they were able to nail down in that last game could now be built upon, while also adding in things that the previous game might have glossed over. Yet, since the genre was still emerging, most gamers and critics weren't entirely sure what to expect from the next game after GTA 3, so Rockstar could largely set their own expectations and meet them the way they wanted to, and that they did in numerous ways. Most notably is the game's grasp of 80s culture. This is likely the first thing you'll notice when you start a game of GTA Vice City, and the last thing you'll think about when it finally ends.
You got to let yourself go, 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 girl. You work all week long. You work your
Vice City doesn't exactly have the most detailed portrayal of America in the 80s that some things might, but it's far from just being a backdrop either. This game lives and breathes 80s vibes. Everything from the clothes that people wear to the way that they act feels right. As some folks are happy-go-lucky 80s style archetypes, others are more sinister, like they're right out of an 80s movie like Scarface.
I'm looking for the money, Sonny. Don't worry.
I am worrying, Tommy. That's my style, because I seem to have this problem in my life with unreliable people. Don't be an unreliable person, Tommy, please. Do us both a favor. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Rockstar even went so far as to mimic certain scenarios and camera angles in the cutscenes from famous movies and pulp culture moments from the 80s, which drives the mood home in a more subtle way on top of everything else. From the looks, the characters, and the music, everything screamed 80s. And I say screamed literally, of course, as the radio even featured several excellent metal songs from the glory days of thrash like Slayer's Raining Blood and Anthrax's Madhouse, although there was plenty of non-metal music like Queensryche, Rick James, that represented all of the 80s music tastes pretty well. Odds are, if you like any music from the 80s, Vice City's soundtrack would have something for you. All in all, over 100 tracks were included in the game's radio system. The protagonist was also a huge step up from the last game. While the silent Claude of Grand Theft Auto 3 certainly got the job done for what that game was, it was certainly time for Rockstar to make the protagonist of their next game something players could sink their teeth into a little more. Somebody we can get to know, who fits their world, has their own agenda, and somebody we can get behind and root for. Tommy Vercetti was certainly that, being portrayed by none other than the great Ray Liotta of Goodfellas fame. A perfect casting decision if there ever was one.
Look, Sonny, we were set up. The deal was an ambush. Harry and Lee are dead.
You better be kidding me, Tommy! Tell me you still got the money.
No, Sonny. I don't have the money.
That was my money, Tommy! My money!
As such, this quality level of acting didn't come with writing that couldn't match. In Vice City, the drama and sticky situations that Tommy would find himself in were entertaining, to put it mildly, and that served as a perfect alternate side of the coin for Ray's acting chops. Between the protagonist and the other characters that he interacts with throughout the campaign, Rockstar had 8,000 lines of dialogue embedded into the game, much of which wasn't even on the main story path and would be discovered accidentally as the player messed around with different activities in different ways in the game. Presentation, writing, and acting aside, however, you can really see the leap that Rockstar was able to make with Vice City from GTA 3 on a technical level. The sheer amount of unique characters dwarfs the previous game, with over 100 unique NPC pedestrians and 50 unique character designs in the story. That might sound like child's play compared to Grand Theft Auto 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2 standards, but keep in mind, this was in 2002. The technology in our phones is several times stronger than what platforms of 2002 had, yet this game was more technically impressive than just about anything you're likely to play on your iPhone. The polygon count for all character models doubled from Grand Theft Auto 3, which allowed for far more expressive body movements due to a more realistic amount of joints, and even the implementation of motion capturing for much of the cutscenes. As you might imagine, with all of these elements in place, Grand Theft Auto Vice City was met with a round of applause pretty much everywhere it was reviewed, even getting perfect 10 out of 10 scores from Eurogamer and Game Informer, two outlets that don't just hand out 10 out of 10 scores to everyone. As the genre was somewhat new, at least in this form, reviewers largely just compared Vice City to GTA 3, and when you do this, it's impossible to not see just how many fundamental ways the formula had been improved and taken to greater heights. Between Ray Liotta's and other fantastic performances, the much upgraded writing, the massively improved graphics, and more interesting setting of a fictional version of Miami, and all the contrasts that brings with it, there is no way to get around the fact that Grand Theft Auto Vice City was a gargantuan improvement on the previous game in every conceivable way. Within one day of the game's launch, Vice City sold 500,000 copies, which jumped to 1.4 million just 24 hours after that, which even by today's standards would be considered a huge success. As a result of all Rockstar's hard work, the game received multiple awards, such as Best PS2 Game of 2002, as well as Best Music, Design, and Graphics from multiple other notable gaming award platforms. But aside from the accolades and awards, the truth is that GTA Vice City had earned all the best praise it could ever get by just being a timeless experience. Its fascination with humor, crime, and conflict is what the GTA series would go on to continue to polish and be known for over time. And while many newer entries of the series may outdo Vice City in some ways, the place that it holds in gaming history is like no other game before or after it. For all of this, it's clear to see that Grand Theft Auto Vice City is, without a shred of doubt, one hell of a game. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed and would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to ensure you'll be notified when new videos go up.